Hey, how's it going? So today I'll be talking about the books that I read in March. FYI, I recorded this video 2 days ago and I'm not using that footage. It was like 50 minutes of me mumbling and just like, at one point I started eating crackers. I was just stuffing my mouth with crackers and it was a mess. So I said, I got to do this video over. And so here we go. I'm going to start with the books that I did not finish. So first is Circe by Madeline Miller. DNF'd it around 20% because it's just too heavy on fantasy and mythology, and I'm not really into that. Don't plan on getting into it, so I'm not sure I'm going to pick this book up again, but it wasn't for me. Another DNF was What He Doesn't Know by Candy Steiner. A few pages into this book, a couple chapters that I'm thinking, oh no, I think I know where this book is going. I read all the reviews, I just read the spoilers, and I came to the conclusion that I was not going to like this book. I read a book series similar to this one last year, and I had a 1-star because it was so horrible, could not do it. Next we're going to my 3-star books. First is Switchbitter by SARA. I read this, listened to this from the Read Me Romance podcast. So Piper's best friend makes a bid on Ryder at this event, and they win the bid, and Piper's like, oh, that's weird, I didn't want to win this, I don't want to be involved in this, so she never connects with Ryder, but Ryder finds her and connects with her, and then they start this weird friendship, relationship, and then that's basically the end of the story. It's going to become an ebook, I guess, in a couple months or so hopefully she just expands it, put some more plot into it. And also, Jason Clarke, I love that narrator. I listened to another audiobook with him in it. Great voice, great narrating voice. Love that dude. Next 3-star I read was I Want to Text You Up by Tegan Hunter. Zoe needs a new roommate, and Caleb answers her flyer, brochure, start connection or email, and they meet in person and realize they already know each other. And so they become roommates and they become friends, you know the story, and then they become more than friends. Zoe was too clingy for me in this book. She was like, where are you at? I'm so bored. When are you coming home? I'm like, girl, read a book, watch the TV, do some dishes, do some laundry, do something. But she was like so dependent and clingy on Caleb. I could not deal with her. Next book I read was Bennett Mafia by Tejan. Pretty sure that's how you pronounce her name. I was so excited because I like mafia romances and stuff like that, and I read it and I was very disappointed. Kai and Riley's relationship in this book was not well developed. It was just like we were supposed to know that they're feeling something for each other, but it wasn't really told that. I will read something else by Tejan. Maybe this book was just not my cup of tea. Another 3-star that I read was Nowhere But Here by Katie McGarry. Emily goes to visit her dying grandmother and her estranged father. She ends up being in danger, so she has to stay and live with them for the summer. Oz gets the responsibility because he wants to get inducted into the MC, and so he gets the responsibility of watching over Emily, and it was cute. I don't know why, I was really emotional reading this book. So it made me like tear up a couple times. It actually made me cry near the end. The next book I read was Paper Princess by Aaron Watt. I was so excited to read this book. This book was being compared to The Boys of Bracial High by Megan Brandy. I love that book. That book just came out in January. The sequel is coming out soon. I'm so excited for that book. This was being compared to it, talking about it's so much better than that, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to read this book and be like amazed and everything. Was not. So disappointed. Not better than Boys of Bracial High, so definitely read that book instead of this book. I just can't. It was not good. I personally did not enjoy it. It was not good. Basically, Ella, she's a stripper. She's on her own. Her mother passed away, and she meets the Royals. The father, I forgot the father's name, but the father finds Ella in a strip club and said, hey, I'm your guardian now. Come live with me and my 5 sons. And so she leaves that life behind. 5 sons hate her. Part of the book is like them bullying Emily and Emily Not really. She didn't really fight back. It was a frustrating read, guys. I was reading this book, Paper Princess, at the same time I was reading Bennett Mafia. I was struggling to get through both of those books. I was so mad. I was just like, out of 2 books I was so excited to read, struggled to get through them. So that's the end of my 3 stars. Let's go on to my 4-star books. So yeah, The Risk by L. Kennedy. This is the 2nd book in the Briar U series. The first, Casse. What does that even mean? Casse. I was very confused reading this book because I completely forgot about what The Chase was about. The first book in the series is called The Chase. I forgot about the characters. I forgot about the relationship to each other. This is a hockey romance, so Elle Kennedy, if you've ever read any of her books, she writes hockey romances. They go to 2 different universities. Their schools are enemies. Their teams, the hockey teams are enemies. And so, you know, you don't think they'll like each other, but they do. And they start a relationship, and it's a cute story. The next book I read was Worth the Fall by Claudia Connor. I thought I was going to rate this book 2 stars, 2 or 3 stars in the beginning because it was very iffy. The way they met was weird. So Abby has 4 kids and she's pregnant, and she meets Matt on the beach. I don't know, Matt likes her. And so he was like, oh, I like that girl over there. And so he's watching this pregnant lady dance with 4 kids on the dance floor while he's back there like drinking at the bar. I'm like, that's so creepy. Who meets like that? If I met someone still staring at me like creeper, I would not like them. That's not realistic. Like, call the cops. And I was like, I'm not gonna like this book, but I pushed through. I'm glad I did because I ended up loving this book. I thought it was really good. This is like a military romance. Next book I read was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Was it Maas? One of them. And I read this also for Romanceopoly. It's for the mystery spot on the board. Apparently I'm into fantasy now because this book was really good. Really enjoyed it. I'm so excited to read the rest of the series. So basically Farah, she goes out into the woods and she shoots a deer, but then she sees a wolf, so she shoots the wolf as well. And the wolf was part of the High Fae. And when the High Fae comes over the border to the mortal world and it says, hey, you have 2 choices. You can either like die on the spot right now, or you can come and live with the High Fae for the rest of your life. And she chooses to live over with the High Fae. If you're into like fantasy and romance, those things together, definitely recommend A Court of Thorns and Roses. So next book I read was The Wicked King by Holly Black. This is the sequel to The Cruel Prince. It was really good, much better than The Cruel Prince. The Queen of Nothing is coming out next year, like January or February. So I'm excited for that book. Next book I read was Grudge Match by Jessica Gazilla. We're going with that. So Addie somehow ends up behind a dumpster. I think I read too many books about girls behind dumpsters. Addie somehow ends up passed out behind a dumpster, and what's his name? Ward finds her, and Ward is the owner of an underground fight club. They work together to figure out how she ended up behind this dumpster. It's kind of like an insta-love, really insta-love story, and it's a lighter dark romance. The next book I read was What the Wind Knows by Amy Harmon. I read this also for Romanceopoly. Anne is from New York. Her grandfather is sick and is about to pass away. So she travels to Ireland with her grandfather's ashes. She goes out into a lake. She's rowing out into the lake, and she dumps the ashes, and in the midst of the dumping the ashes and spraying the ashes on the lake, she gets transported back into 1917. I definitely recommend if you like historical romances, anything historical fiction. Next I read On This Island by Tracy Graves Garvis. Anna is a tutor, and she got hired to tutor TJ over the summer on this island that TJ's parents are going to be at. I forgot what it's called. It's one of those fancy islands, the Madrids or Medeas or Maldives or Maldives, something like that. Anyway, so that's where they're going to go. On the way to the island, the pilot has a heart attack and the plane crashes. They land on this unoccupied island, and they have to survive. Their survival on the island, the story was very, very good. Once they get off the island, that story too, oh, spoily, but they do get off the island eventually, after a couple years. The book made me cry. It was very good. So the next book I read was Columbine by Dave Cullen. This book was very difficult to read, man. So difficult. I thought I was going to read it like very quickly, but it took me probably like a week and a half to get through, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks to get through. It's like really in depth and very difficult to read, but definitely worth reading because you learn a lot you didn't know before. So the next book I read was I Can't Make This Up, I Can't Make This Up, I Can't Make This Up, Life Lessons by Kevin Hart. It wasn't as funny as I was expecting it to be, but it was laugh out loud funny. And I definitely recommend the audiobook because he improvises a lot in this book. Those are all my 4 stars. I'm going on to my 5 stars now. So I read Educated by Tara Westover. Tara, she grew up in the mountains of Idaho. She doesn't have a birth certificate. She didn't have a proper education, but somehow she ended up getting her PhD. It didn't have closure to the story, especially with her family, and so I will definitely want to know more about her story in the coming years. The next 5 star I read was Tyrant by T.M. Frazier. It's the second book in the series, but this is the finale or sequel to Doe's and King's story. It was so good. It was like romance suspense. It was more suspenseful than it had like romance in it, but it was just like, it was so good. Definitely recommend this book. The sequel, so much better than the first book. That's it. That's all 18 books I needed to talk about. So doing a quick TBR for April. I want to read this right here. The Sun Is Also a Star. I might be reading Shatter Me because this is a book that's a group, a Facebook group that I'm part of. They're reading this book, I believe, next week, and so I might be reading this. I might be reading this book for Romanceopoly. They have a readathon coming up. The Kiss Quotient, I ordered that book. It should be coming in soon. I definitely want to read that book. So, A Court of Mist and Fury, which is the second book, which I cannot read until I think near the end of April. I can't read that book because it's not available on script yet. The Mister by E.L. James is coming out. E.L. James, the author of 50 Shades of Grey and stuff like that. She's coming out with a new book. There's a squirrel outside. Squirrel. Yeah, so currently I'm actually reading 6 books. I'm thinking of ending things by Ian Reid, I believe that's his name. I'm reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I'm reading A Pound of... Oh, nope, not going to talk about that. But I'm not going to talk about that book because I have an idea for a video. So I'm reading Lessons in Corruptions by Gianna Darling. I'm reading Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim by David Sedaris. And I just started reading another book called Broken Wings. And it has the same vibe as Paper Princess and The Boys of Brayshaw High. That's it, guys. That was March. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe.